Hello, so today I'm going to talk about the nitrogen cycle. I'm going to talk about the good and the bad. And as you can see, there's a sad face of the sun and a happy face of the sun on the left and right. So the first question is, why do we need nitrogen? Well, take for example this person here, or these birds, or these plants. They all need nitrogen to make DNA, RNA, and amino acids, essentially the building blocks of life for all living organisms on this planet. So we know why they need it, but where do we get nitrogen? Well, about 78% of our nitrogen is found in the atmosphere. Okay, so if we have so much, what's the problem? Well, the thing is that in order for living organisms to take them in, we need a little bit of help. So nitrogen inputs, shown here, can be input in a couple ways. One is through precipitation, so let's just assume that it's raining, pushing all that nitrogen towards the soil, okay? Or we can have decomposition, like the sad little pig here that died, or from leaf litter, right here. All of these can be broken down by microbes, fungi, and bacteria from the organic nitrogen into inorganic. So how does that happen? Well, this process is called nitrogen fixation. And so what happens is the bacteria in the soil, starting off this way, will begin to break down the organic nitrogen, again right here. Here's some more microbes, into NH4+, which is ammonium. From there, the microbes will continue to break them down, and a couple things can happen. First, they can be immobilized, right here, broken down by microbes and fungi, and they can be converted into nitrogen. So the question we ask is the organic residue, right here, high or low? If it's high, then it gets released back into the soil, okay? If it's low, then the microbes right here will absorb it into their biomass. So ammonium can then can be broken down further, right here and right here, by more microbes from nitrite to nitrate. This is called nitrification. So what happens after that? Well, plants can absorb the nitrogen, or can absorb the nitrate through their nodules, sometimes, if there is rhizobia, which is a symbiotic bacteria that basically exchange energy for nutrients, or by their roots, shown here. So we know how plants get them, but how can we lose nitrogen? Well, one way is through denitrification, right here. So during denitrification, let's say like we have agricultural water use right here, and we flood, right? We're flooding the soil, right? And let's say all of these are pockets of air. The denitrifying bacteria basically like that environment, and they'll begin to break down the nitrate, which will be released as nitrous oxide, and that will go right back in to the atmosphere. Another way we can lose it is if we go back to ammonium, is through volatilization, which essentially is the breakdown, or when the soil pH is higher than 8, and that's usually from fertilizers. And so the microbes will again break that down, and that will be released this time as NH3, which is another gas. And another option that we can lose nitrogen, is through leaching, shown right here. Leaching can happen if we have, let's say we have a lot of agricultural water use, right? And we're using all this water, and let's say we also add fertilizer, which is a no-no, and all of that will be eventually flushed out, right? Because the molecules just cannot handle that, and they'll be pushed out. Another consequence of that is that we can get nitrification, shown right here, which basically is adding all of those minerals, all of the nitrates and ammonium will be leached into, let's say, the ocean. And once they're in the ocean, they can basically acidify and deoxygenate the ocean, promoting these things called algal blooms, right? And algal blooms basically are like giant pockets of algae that thrive in anaerobic areas. So So that basically facilitates algae blooms and algae environments. So now we know why and how we get it and lose it, but what are some solutions? So some solutions are not using fertilizers, right? By not using fertilizers, we don't have to worry about excess runoff of nutrients, and interplanting cover crops, which basically is adding more of these, and maybe more trees that will promote the nitrogen fixation, also known as biological fixation, by the root nodules or other microbes and bacteria needed to facilitate that. So yes, that's the nitrogen cycle. Pretty simple.